Based on large-scale events in paleontological history and geological history. So mass extinctions. So between time periods, one type of organism died out completely, or a whole different type of organism came into being, according to the fossil record. So, life is generally thought to have begun somehow during Precambrian, but very few fossils are there. But then moving forward in the Paleozoic era, it'll be online. In the Paleozoic era that's broken into all of these, this is where things like dinosaurs, mammoths, saber-toothed tigers, that kind of thing existed. Yeah. No, you don't have to have all that memorized, but you do need to know about the Cambrian explosion and what that means. It's the relatively rapid appearance of most of the major animal phyla, and it is the Cambrian period has organisms like worms and clams and things like that. Very small versions of modern day organisms. So phylum, in the order of life, it's kingdom. So kingdom is things like plant, animal, and so on. Okay? And then there's phylum, which is right below that, and that divides things up a little bit more. And then there's class, order, family, genus, species. So there's a lot more classifications below that. But these phyla are big groupings of organisms, and initially in the Cambrian period, the fossil evidence indicates that they were small, primitive versions of what we have today. The Mesozoic era is what everyone thinks about when they think of prehistorical time, because this is when the dinosaurs lived. The Mesozoic era, Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous, that's the ones that people have heard of because those are the ones that have the dinosaurs. That's, Jurassic Park is named for the Jurassic period. And it's also the time when small mammals emerge in the fossil record. So rats, mice, ferrets, voles, things like that. Only later do things like saber-toothed tigers and mammoths and that kind of thing appear. And most of the large mammals are in the fossil record far after the dinosaurs. During the Cenozoic era, my perspective is that is when God was preparing the earth not just for life, but you okay? Not just for life, but for the kind of life that we have. Okay, the earth became much cooler and drier. If you imagine that when the earth was created, it had tons of these radioactive elements that we've talked about, lots and lots of uranium and plutonium not so much, but uranium and radioactive potassium and carbon and all of that. That all, because they have half-lives, the first half of the Earth's history, you can imagine there was a whole lot of radioactivity, right? Which is part of the stressor that might cause mutation. Okay, that is the heat source for the center of the Earth, for one thing, and it is it makes the Earth very unstable for life. But as that first half-life of those elements passes, now you have a much more sustainable, livable, life-supporting time period. Earth's climate became much cooler and drier, and then there were several ice ages. And ice ages are what we associate with things like saber-toothed tigers and mammoths. Yes.
Just like the movies.
Just like the movies. Yes.
There were 4 movies.
This period was marked by diversification of mammals. So instead of just having a few small mammals, they diversified. There became many different classes of mammals, and they got bigger and so on. About 150,000 years ago, according to the fossil record, the first humans appeared on Earth. And that is Homo sapiens or Homo sapiens, depending on whether you're taking Latin. as distinct from the other humanoid beings that were around at the time. Okay. And remember how we talked about index fossils indicating something about relative ages? They also indicate something about, well, radiometric dating of the layers that those fossils are found in tells us something about the absolute ages of those fossils. So if humans died in an area and either were buried intentionally or just fell on the ground and got buried by sedimentary processes, and we do radiometric dating not just of the bones but of the layer of rock that they're in, we can tell about how long ago those deaths happened. Okay, this is just a summary of section 23.6.